able to get out of it.
Situations
they were able to have some big plays put up by their defense. Of course, the Jahad Campbell interception in the end zone. And then next thing you know, the offense was put in some good field situations last week.
Good field position.
And that was because the defense was able to step up. Last week, if the Eagles defense was not able to step up, put the offense in key field situations and good field position, the offense probably wouldn't have scored a single point in last week's game.
Beginning of the fourth quarter.
This week, a little different. The defense was getting worn out.
They couldn't get anything going.
There were a substantial amount of 3-and-outs. I mean, there was one as well at the beginning of the fourth quarter. The Eagles barely erased a minute off the clock.
They're a feisty team.
They couldn't get anything going. The Broncos completely stole the momentum out from underneath of the Eagles. And the Broncos, especially we know, coming into this game, they're a feisty team. And they already have not started the season the way that they have hoped it to start. I mean, again, a lot of people, a lot of analysts out there had them and predicted them to be winning and to, at the end of the year, win their division. And especially the Broncos defense is a team that you can't just black out against. The Broncos, after yesterday's game, now have a total of the stats brought in. The Broncos now having 15 sacks, 104 pressures, and a 46.8% pressure rate.
And now here's the second week in a row.
With that being said, yes, not a team to mess around with, especially a defense. You have to play them for all 4 quarters. And now here's the second week in a row where the Eagles have completely fell off in the second half. And this is the 5th week in a row, ever since week 1, where the Eagles have not played a full 4 quarters, and the offense has a substantial blackout at a specific time in the game where they can't get anything going. And the fact is that they can be lucky if they get in the field goal range at times.
This should be blamed on the Eagles.
We also saw many times yesterday of the Eagles completely taking themselves out of it. And again, I'll go back to penalties, but I'm not going to blame the refs. This should be blamed on the Eagles.
When you look at that,
the miscommunication yesterday was insane. You had false starts. You had the ineligible man downfield, a call I can't stand, but still. And especially when you look at that ineligible man downfield call that happened.
Was on the same page, and
the offensive line was on a totally different page than where the QB was on. The wide receivers were on a totally different page from where the QB was on. No one was on the same page. And, of course, you look at that ineligible man downfield. The offensive line originally thought that play was, I mean, you look behind, they thought it was going to be either a run play, possibly. They were ready to block. They were out in front. They thought that was going to be a run play until it was switched up. I mean, this is something where when no one, all the positions surrounding what it makes for a football offense are not on the same page, things like this are going to happen. And there were 3 specifically big-time plays that were called back yesterday, explosive plays. Now, the Eagles already have a hard enough time building up to these explosive plays. They've been, struggling with that. And it's even worse when you build up to an explosive play and you either get a stupid penalty or the play's there and you're just completely off with each other. Of course, yes, you already know what I'm going to mention, folks. You know where I'm going with this one. The A.J. Brown miscommunication issue, where at first, when that overthrown ball happened, I was right to blame Hurts on. Of course, that whole situation where there was a great long ball. If Hurts would have connected to A.J. Brown, that most certainly would have been a touchdown. There was no one in front of Brown. No one. He had the DBs burnt for Denver. There was no one there. But I tell you what was there. The miscommunication was there and shining with all the lights out. So here was the quote, some quotes from A.J. Brown after the game. Of course, his first major quote we got. He said a lot, but here are some of the big time quotes we got from it. From my point of view, we just missed it. And then he goes on to say, quote, when I looked up, I didn't see the ball. When I looked back, I didn't see the ball. So, again, this is that type of situation where it was just no one was on the same page. And, of course, you saw A.J. Brown slowed down. So, that was kind of another issue. Your wide receiver, your QB were not on the same page. And, of course, when he was asked at the end of the game, when the media called up with him, did you talk about it with Jalen? And no was the answer. That was it. That was the quote. No. And that A.J. Brown miscue right there on that long ball was not the only one where the Eagles had an issue with the long ball. Another one I'll bring up with Jahan Dotson. There was a long ball thrown out, and it seemed like the same thing that A.J. Brown just described when he said, quote, when I look up, I didn't see the ball. When I look back, I didn't see the ball. Because there was a long ball opportunity to Jahan Dotson where it looked like that exact same scenario. Hurts was back in the pocket. He had to get rid of the ball. He found Dotson down the field. Dotson curled left. Where Hurts threw the ball, it had the length to it, but the ball was thrown to the right. So Dotson curled left. He was looking, I mean, you could see on that specific play, on that long ball try to Jahan Dotson, he's looking behind him. He's looking over his right shoulder. He's looking over his left shoulder. Can't find it. Next thing you know, he curls left. Hurts throws the ball. Yeah, it was long enough, but it was to the completely wrong side. He threw it to the right. Jahan curled out to the left. So it's just constant miscommunication. It was the same thing like what A.J. Brown just described with Dotson. He was looking all over his shoulder. He just didn't see the ball. He looked back. You could tell Dotson knew the ball was coming, but he had no idea where it was. And this is the type of miscommunication where it's just no one's on the same page whatsoever. And it's kind of disgraceful to have an offense like this. You're going into week 5 with this talent, and you can't find yourselves. You can't adjust. And it's the same thing again. What happened last week in the second half with Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers? That defense adjusted. The Eagles' offense very much didn't do so. What did we see this week? The same thing. Now, I do think it wasn't as bad as, again, there were explosive plays that were there. But it was either a stupid mistake or a stupid penalty. And no, when I mean stupid penalty, I'm not blaming it on the officials. I'm blaming it on the Eagles. There were a couple of big-time runs. I mean, we look at Saquon Barkley yesterday. I was told by multiple different people when this stat was released, I could have swore Barkley had a little bit more touches and some more yards because Barkley's total for yesterday in rushing was 6 touches for 30 yards. So I was told by multiple different people, and I thought the same thing. I could have swore Barkley had some more touches and yards. Well, he kind of did, but didn't. Now, that sounds kind of strange. What does that mean? Well, he had some good touches. He had some good carries. Oh, what happened to him? Oh, yeah, that's right. They were called back because of stupid penalties. There were a couple good rushes by Barkley yesterday that were brought back. So this entire scenario, I mean, there was another great throw to Devontae Smith down the left sideline. Great catch. Was able to get his feet in bounds. Oh, wait, yeah, it was called back. That was, of course, on that illegal shift motion. I sound like I'm talking about baseball, the old-fashioned shift that they used to have in the MLB. We'll talk about that another time. But with that penalty, that killed him on a big play right there. That was a nice, beautifully thrown long ball to Devontae Smith down the left sideline. He came up with it, got both feet down. We know how well Devontae Smith is with being able to get both feet down in very tight situations. He came down with it. It was an awesome catch. It was great. Would have been even nicer if it counted. But it was just the Eagles shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, I was saying it. They were, going after the Broncos, shooting the Broncos, whatnot. Next thing you know, they turn the gun on themselves. And this is a situation where that game should have been 100% winnable. It was winnable. And in no way am I going to be one of these fans that goes after the officials. Yes, there were some bad calls. Don't get me wrong. I was irate, especially at the end of the game. Okay, we understand that that's over now. But I'm not going to blame it on bad calls. Yes, if they were called, would have been different. Yes, it would have been. It could have possibly been a win for the Eagles, but it would have been a close win. There's no reason this should have even been close. The Eagles had multiple opportunities to put the Broncos away, as they did with the Buccaneers, the same thing last week. They had multiple opportunities to bury a team. And here we go again with them taking these missed opportunities. Yes, this offense has been finding ways, or I'm not going to say the offense, the Eagles as a whole have been finding ways to win in previous weeks, but they finally got exposed because these wins did not feel complete. These wins were something that they just squeaked away with. And I guarantee you, if the Buccaneers were given slightly more time last week, they would have come back and won. They would have come back 100%. They would have won that game. How many weeks now have the Eagles won a game by the hair on their chinny chin chin? And yet, sure, yes, it's nice to say, oh, great, they find ways to win. They win. That's nice and all. But when they finally get exposed, it's a different story. And I'm not going to be one to be completely crazy and go back to that Brian Johnson season where that's exactly what happened to that season. The Eagles were getting wins before they collapsed and went 11-6 and got absolutely railed in the wild card round against the Buccaneers. Yeah, remember that season when Brian Johnson was the OC? Yeah. That was how that season started. Yeah, they won games. They were undefeated for a good portion of time, but they were barely winning games. And every time at the end of those games, it was like, oh, yeah, they're finding ways to win, but it was a heart attack again. So I'm not going to go off on a complete limb and say that's exactly how this season's going to end up. But I tell you what, right now, you have a locker room that's all over the place. You have a receiver in A.J. Brown who was mad he wasn't getting touches and now had a game like that yesterday where, yeah, it was a better game, but still there was miscommunication all over the field. There was fault on Hurts. There was fault on A.J. Brown yesterday. There was fault all over the place. And this is something where, you know, of course, a lot of people go to the offensive coordinator, and this is something where, again, I only see around half a game that is prepared for the Eagles team. And of course, with an offensive coordinator, and I think a lot of people tend to forget this, the offensive coordinator is not calling a play just for that specific moment. He is calling a play to set up opportunities down the line. What that play that he calls for this moment will set up down in the future. That's what they're looking at. An offensive coordinator is not saying, okay, this is the play. I'm only calling it for this specific time. No, it's to set up opportunities later in the drive, later in the game. And this is something for when I see from Kevin Patullo is, you know, it's something where, oh, we got to pass now. Oh, we're not going to run it now. We're not going to run it. Pass. It's the conservative offense. I mean, it was last week, we'll do nothing but run the ball in certain situations. Now we'll do something. We'll do nothing but pass the ball. And of course, an interesting stat that I found that came out before this past game with the Eagles was in shotgun formation, it's 70% pass. In pistol formation, it's 81% run. So this is the kind of offense that is being run at this time and how predictable it can possibly be for opposing teams' defenses. And this is something where I see that when an opposing team, all they need to see is one half of work from this guy, and they haven't completely figured out for the rest of the game. And this is something where, I mean, we've seen it multiple times. Oh, here, the way that they're set up, it's going to be a crossing route by A.J. Brown. And what was it? Absolutely. So this is something where at the end of the day, yes, it's just getting more and more concerning as we move on, and something where it doesn't necessarily look to be getting better. I mean, you want to talk about the run game. Barkley's timestamps for his carries in the first quarter, he had two, one at the 6 minute and 44 second mark for 3 yards. He had one in the 4 minute and 59 mark for 17 yards. That was his longest rush of the game, matter of fact. He had three in the second quarter, one at the 11:52 mark for 4 yards, one at the 11:18 mark for 4 yards, and then one at the 2 minutes and 39 minute mark, 2 yards. And then only had one in the fourth quarter, 6 minutes, 52 seconds, 0 yards. So in this type of situation, again, it was a total switch from what we saw last week. It went from run, so we're only going to pass. And of course, a lot of people were saying, well, Eagles fans, isn't that what you wanted? You wanted to see the pass game come out. Well, it did. Kevin Patullo tried to run a balanced offense. Challenge impossible is what I see right now. But, I mean, overall, this was something that, I mean, for the offense, these blackouts are something that happens every single week. Now it's just a matter of what time. Now we're starting to get kind of a ongoing occurrence where the blackouts tend to happen now in the third quarter. Although this week, they actually came out and got more points on the board. Of course, that made it originally to 17-3. And then it was all history from there. Broncos came back. They took the lead, of course, with that 2-point conversion. easy 2-point conversion. They walked down the field. The 2-point conversion was not even, I mean, it was like an afterthought for the Eagles defense. That was easy. But again, your defense was getting worn. So that didn't necessarily help. But I mean, again, you look at the running game, Barkley only had 1 carry in the final 32 minutes of the game. So this is another situation that just, it's not getting better. And it just seems to be like a constant decline where they're swirling the drain. But maybe we talked a lot about the offense. We can go into the defense. I mean, we saw some guys step up in a big way. We saw guys like Ojulari who made some good plays, got some good pressure. Jalen Carter also helped, even though it didn't necessarily see any big-time sacks that happened. They still were getting pressure. But again, that was something that also kind of disappeared going into the second half. The pressure on Bo Nix just was not there anymore. And you look at the first half stats from Bo Nix, the Eagles held him for 10 out of 21 for his completions, which is pretty good. Only 79 yards and held him to a QB rating of 57.4. Let's fast forward to the end of the game. It went up 24 out of 39 for his passing attempts for 242 yards. He threw 1 touchdown. Of course, he rose his QB rating up to 93.11. But this is, again, something where the defense just started to wear off. And, of course, the secondary especially started to wear off, where the Broncos were killing the Eagles with the secondary. I mean, you had Quinyon Mitchell, who couldn't come up with big plays against Sutton many times. He was starting to, unfortunately, get burnt many times, especially for Q. That is rare, but he was, I have to say it, Mitchell was getting burnt many times yesterday. Then, of course, you had another guy being Ringo back there who was just, I think maybe running in circles, maybe to try to get his cardio in. That was about all he was doing. As Ringo was struggling to guard on simple post routes. And as well, of course, going back to that 2-point conversion where, again, it was just not on this guy. And there were a couple times, I mean, what is Ringo? Ringo is known to have all this big-time fast speed. Well, I was looking for it yesterday, and I couldn't quite find it. There were many times yesterday where Ringo and Zach Bond were on a guy, and Bond was actually the closest. I mean, he was right on him. So for a guy known for all this speed, you have one of your linebackers beating you out. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Bond's slow, but you have one of your linebackers completely beating you out, and you're a cornerback that's supposed to have all this speed, and you're getting beat on simple post routes over the middle of the field. I mean, this is something where his ability to cover, his ability to tackle, there were many times yesterday where Ringo just was tackles that should have been made, and they weren't. So, again, I still will give it to the defense. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to hold a lead when your offense gives you around just over a minute of rest, has multiple 3-and-outs, goes five of the 6 drives in the fourth quarter, like I said, come up with 0 points. So it's kind of hard to keep the grit and the momentum going in the defensive side of the sideline. Don't get me wrong. But overall, the game, it was all over. And no one was on the same page. And it was just getting to be something that was just getting more and more concerning every single week of, what's it going to be against next week? I mean, here we go. You go up against the New York Giants next week. You have a very, very short week. Of course, Thursday night football, but not just do the Eagles have a short week. The Giants do as well. And the Giants just gave the Saints their first win of the season. For a team that didn't have a QB, the Saints definitely put up a good number on the Giants yesterday. Pretty much everyone had the Giants winning that game. But the Saints said, oh, no, you don't. They put up 26 points against them. And for a team that doesn't have a quarterback, Spencer Rattler put up 225 yards against New York with a passing touchdown. And the Saints also got their longest passing touchdown yesterday since back in the Drew Brees days. So that's another little fun fact right there for you. So the Giants are coming off a disappointing loss. And now they're going back to, won't be at South Philly. It will be at MetLife Stadium up the NJ Turnpike in North Jersey at the old Turf Monster. So this is something where that literally right after the game yesterday, the Eagles started their rehab for Thursday to start off week 6 for the NFL. And of course, the Eagles are favored in this game to win 76.4%. That's their win probability for this upcoming matchup. And the only thing I asked, probably the biggest thing I asked besides them to get the win, is that please, God, may there be no big-time injuries that come out of this game. And the reason I say that is because of the old great Turf Monster at MetLife Stadium being, if not one of the worst, well, I'll say it, the worst field in the NFL. Of course, literally not that long ago, there was another big-time injury on the field. Surprise, surprise. But this time it was for the home team. Yes, the New York Giants, a couple of weeks ago, lost their top receiver, Malik Neighbors, to an ACL injury. Surprise, surprise. It's not like the first time that stadium has seen a big-time injury like that. But yes, the Turf Monster, that's what I ask. And of course, knowing what's been going on with the Eagles' injuries as of recent, not great, especially with the Eagles' offensive line. So that is something I'll give the offense. As much bad that came out of the offense yesterday, I will give them the fact that their offensive line was beat up, and it's been that way now. This is the third week now that they've been having offensive line issues. Of course, the last 2 weeks they were having issues with Lane Johnson. They had an issue with Steen last week as well, Tyler Steen. This week wasn't Lane Johnson, wasn't Steen, but it was another Pro Bowler for the Birds, of course, left guard Landon Dickerson, who exited with an ankle injury. And it was said that his left ankle was the culprit. Of course, he rolled up on that ankle. It looked like in a play in the first quarter is when it happened, and he was replaced by Brett Tooth. Now, Brett Tooth, of course, in the preseason actually stood out in a pretty good way. Now, don't get me wrong, where there were some mistakes made by him yesterday, absolutely. But still, we're getting to see a lot of the offensive line backups. And that's specifically why I was looking so hard at these backups in the preseason, was because of situations like that, knowing the injury issues that the Eagles offensive line had. And those of you, especially with Landon Dickerson, if you remember back in weeks 1 and 2, he was having issues with his back and was on the injury report a couple of times. And of course, yes, as well, he got surgery over the offseason. So this is something where situations like that, hopefully it's nothing too bad. Of course, we'll see as the rest of the week goes on, as the Eagles release their injury reports after their practices. Again, make sure to follow me. You can follow me with my Eagles channel at Chat Eagles on Instagram. And you can also check out on YouTube, Eagles Chat YouTube. That's all it is. There's another couple channels that kind of say Eagles Chat Sports. No, it's just Eagles Chat on YouTube. And this is something where I go more in depth on the games. I just made the Week 5 Eagles Chat, just came out last night. So we were able to edit that up and whatnot. So make sure to check that out. Of course, that is on the Eagles Chat YouTube channel as well. You can follow us at Chat Eagles on Instagram as well, as I'll be able to get the updates out to you as fast as possible, as well on the injury report to get them out when they indeed do come out, when the Eagles release them. Again, make sure to follow me on at Chat Eagles as well to check out the Eagles Chat YouTube channel, where I go more in depth on the Birds, and especially on a game like yesterday, really go into depth, as there was a lot to talk about as I just was ranting on here before we go into our next break. Of course, before we do go into the break, another injury that did come out of yesterday's game was with the backup tight end for the Birds, Grant Calcaterra, who left the game with an oblique injury. And he had, prior to being injured, he had 2 catches for 18 yards. And this is something where, again, backup tight end, you need them available. Of course, knowing how Dallas Goedert is with being injury prone, it's something where it may not seem like a big deal. Your backup tight end gets hurt, but it's knowing how the Eagles are. The last thing you want is for injuries to be building up, specifically in one department, being your tight end department. So hopefully nothing too bad right there, but we'll see exactly what happens as the rest of this week continues. But we're going to go to a quick break. Remember the WDBK text line, 345-9325 if you want to text in and be a part of the conversation. Or if you have any sports takes, again, we're going to be talking about the Phillies next segment. So if you have any sports takes or any predictions for what the Phillies are going to do tonight against the LA Dodgers, make sure to drop it in the text line. Again, 856-345-9325. If you want to be a part of the show, we'll make sure to shout you out on air. Just make sure to leave your name. You can also leave where you're texting in from. It'd be greatly appreciated. We'll give you a shout out on air as Phillies Talk will be coming up in a matter of moments next on 91.5 WDBK.
Did you know that approximately 7 out of 10 college students face mental health challenges? Help Camden County College's Center for Counseling and Wellness to understand the state of our students' well-being, identify areas for growth within our existing systems, and inform future mental health and wellness programs. Our Healthy Minds study will be launching on October 6th, and every Camden County College student will receive a link to the student survey via email. Each student who participates in the survey will be entered into a raffle and will be eligible to win a gift card up to $250, a Camden County College gift basket, or a mental health gift basket. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Counseling Center, counseling@camdencc.edu.
What is the Educational Opportunity Fund, or EOF for short? The Educational Opportunity Fund community fosters academic achievement, personal growth, and leadership skills that last a lifetime. Academic and financial benefits include personalized academic advising, financial assistance, free college prep summer programs, career exploration, goal planning and leadership development, workshops, tutoring, and more. Just go to camdencc.edu to find out more. Did you know about the TRIO Student Support Services Program? The federally funded TRIO program is designed to enable low-income college students, first-generation college students, and students with a documented disability to stay in college until they earn their degree or transfer to a four-year institution. The Student Support Services Program at Camden County College will assist students with basic college requirements, provide opportunities for academic development, and motivate students towards the successful completion of their associate's degree or transfer to a four-year college. Student Support Services will provide academic and career advisement, tutoring assistance, completion of financial aid forms, and much more. Contact TRIO at 856-968-1335. You can also email them at studentsupport@camdencc.edu. The location to find out more information about this program is on Camden County College's Camden campus, located on the second floor of College Hall. The TRIO Student Support Services Program, where the students are destined for success.
Did you know that Camden County College has a dental hygiene clinic? Located at Halpern Hall Suite 107 on the Blackwood campus, the clinic is here to put a sparkle in your smile, with hours being 9 a.m. to noon, 1 to 4 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays, and 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. on Thursdays with no morning hours. Remember, these services are offered by appointments only. You can contact the clinic by phone at 856-374-4930. Once again, 856-374-4930 for a smile of a lifetime.
Hello, my name is Steven.
And my name is Colleen.
And we are dental hygiene students at Camden County College on the Blackwood campus. Did you know that we actually have a dental hygiene clinic on campus?
We sure do. Our clinic hours are Mondays and Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., as well as Tuesdays, 12:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Thursdays, 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and 12:30 to 3:30 p.m.
At our clinic, we offer preventative services such as cleanings, sealants, and different programs such as nutritional counseling, plaque control, and tobacco cessation.
We are located on the Blackwood campus in the Halpern Science Building on the first floor. Our phone number is 856-374-4930.
Please call or stop by to make your smile brighter.
Are you ready to transfer or beginning your transfer research? Then join Transfer Services for a transfer fair at the Camden City campus on Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Over 20 representatives from four-year institutions will be available to meet with students to discuss the transfer process, scholarships, majors, and student life in the CTC building.
And welcome back to 91.5 WDBK for some midday madness where, yes, I am mad because of the teams that I support. But hey, we're back. We ranted about the Eagles. I got that out of my system. Now it's time to rant about another bunch of interesting folks. I'll say that because I'm on the radio, right? But no. So we got a text that came in from our great folks listening in the area. And hey, let's get ready to go for the reading portion of this. And of course, we had Ernie from Blackwood text into the show, and he said, quote, Phillies are done. They are 0-8 in series. They lose game one. They are the Sixers! Exclamation points. So as much as I want to kind of disagree and say I think the Phillies still have a chance, I've been around this team long enough, and I think my man Ernie here has been around this team long enough to know when the momentum kind of leaves the park. And this is something where, I mean, yeah, he's got a good point there. Yes, that is absolutely true. They are 0-8 in series. They lose in game one. And, you know, this is that type of situation where I will definitely be fully on board with that if they lose tonight. Because if you lose tonight and you go into their home turf down 0-2 in a 5-game series, you're done. It's over. It's over. So this is the series tonight, in my opinion, and I'm sure others' opinions, and some think it's done already, and especially judging off the way that this team's momentum is going, it could be. Especially, I mean, I've been around this team for a while. I know a lot of others have they kind of feel it coming. It's one of those times you can kind of feel it coming. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Luzardo on the mound for tonight. And of course, the Phillies right now, I mean, this is a situation where the top of your lineup specifically is not doing anything. And I mean, many times we saw, of course, Schwarber go up there. Nothing. It was a silent game from Schwarber like you've never seen before. And matter of fact, I mean, for both MVP candidates with Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber, it was a silent game for both of them at the plate. Of course, Ohtani was able to somewhat make up for it in his pitching situation as he held, again, he was on the Phillies' case. Besides that area where he allowed him to get 3 runs, he was on the Phillies' case for the most part. But again, I mean, this is something where the guys that you need to step up just straight up didn't. And it was a scenario where it's straight up concerning. And, you know, overall, when you look at it, the top guys being Schwarber, Harper, and Turner are 1 for 11. Or, excuse me, we're 1 for 11 in game one. Your top 3 main guys, Harper, Schwarber, and Turner, 1 for 11. Not great, and not a great showing whatsoever at all. And this is something where, I mean, the Phils had the Dodgers' top guys locked down, specifically in terms of pitching. I mean, Shohei and Betts for the Dodgers are their top guys, especially for hitting, right? They were 0 for 9, a combined 0 for 9. The only reason Shohei got on base was because he was walked once. But this is something, again, I want to specifically talk to the offense. I want to kind of cut this up. We'll talk about the offense, then we'll talk about the pitching. But to specifically stay on par with the offense, I mean, the bat discipline is obviously still a huge issue. And the Phils in game one went 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And, I mean, they've also lost 4 of their last 5 games in the postseason at Citizens Bank Park. So this is something where it all seems to be going downhill. And, of course, again, with this offense, in clutch situations and in key situations, they can't get the job done. And especially with runners in scoring position, 1 for 7, that's disgraceful. And, of course, the offense really didn't show up much. Of course, they had that moment at the beginning, right? They were able to get the 3 runs on the board. They were able to put the ball in play. They were able to get just nice hits off. They were able to find the gap. This was all things that disappeared as the game went on. Of course, they had that little sputter. They had that little moment in the 8th inning where they were getting things rocking and rolling, right? They had the bases loaded. Next thing you know, here comes Mundo Sosa. People are getting excited because Mundo Sosa did well. I mean, he had a game against Miami as we were ending the regular season where he had 3 home runs in one game. So, oh, look at this. He's warming up. This is a guy where let's see how he does in a clutch situation. He'll surely do it. And no, he flew out to center field. And it was over. Bases were loaded. 3 men left. Bye-bye. So, again, the Phillies in clutch situations, it just wasn't happening. And this is, I mean, you have Schwarber going up 0 for 4. I mean, this is something where the guys that you needed to show up just flat out didn't. Now, you had, of course, JT was able to show when you needed him at times. Brandon Marshall, of course, this is going back to the explosion that the Phils had at the beginning of the game, right? To get up 3-0. But it just wasn't anything really too special. I mean, you had some ability. Of course, Max Kepler was the one who started to get it somewhat going for the Phils, right? When that little second explosion try that the Phils had, where Kepler hit into the double. But right now, it's just they were able to keep guys like Schwarber and Harper 0-6 with off-speed pitches. And this is something where I think definitely the LA Dodgers were able to figure it out quite well on, and not knowing basically, let's not fire the ball like a rocket down the middle of the plate against these guys. We know Harper likes to chase those. We know Schwarber likes to chase those. I mean, you look at the majority of those, look at the majority of Schwarber's runs or home runs he got this year. And you look at the pitches that he swung at, they were low fastballs. Some of them even were high fastball. I mean, these are things where the Dodgers, obviously, let's just say they study tape. We'll say that. Schwarber also 0 for his last 18 with 11 strikeouts. That's another thing that I'm not going to be too happy about as well. But overall, again, this is something that I was a little nervous about. And, you even look at the previous series the Phillies had with the LA Dodgers, of course, going back into the regular season when the Phils met up with the Dodgers in that final stretch back in mid-September. You look at the games that the Phillies won in that 3-game series. Of course, the Phillies won that series. They won 2 out of 3 games. But you look at those games, and the Dodgers starting pitching had them completely honed down. Specifically, Ohtani did last time. Ohtani had him shut out. The only reason the Phils won that game, they went up against the bullpen, and everything started to go. There you go. It just went the direction it went in. The Phillies absolutely ate up their bullpen. But, again, you look at that series, Phils against the starters was not great. They got shut out the last game of that series. Ohtani shut them out in their 9-6 win. Of course, then the Phillies came in. They had the explosion of runs that occurred in the top of the 6th inning, which was, yes, folks, right when Ohtani got out. He went 5 innings that game. Ohtani was taken out. They got 6 runs. They took the lead immediately. They took the lead almost immediately. Or they did take the lead immediately when that happened. But this does go to show you, I mean, I am pretty concerned on how the Phils are against starting pitching, and I know the Dodgers know exactly what they're doing with the off-speed pitches. Now, of course, after that little hiccup by Ohtani, pitching-wise, he only gave up 1 hit after that 2nd inning. 1 hit. So, again, this goes to that type of circumstance where Ohtani was able to really lock in. He was able to see what they were swinging at, what they were trying to go, what they were chasing, the type of pitches to throw. Of course, there were some where, again, those off-speed pitches. This is something, again and again, where the Eagles offense, oh my gosh, I'm going now. I'm all over the place. But the Phillies offense seemed to chase similar things. And of course, you look at what they've been chasing all year. And of course, you had guys like Castellanos who came in, of course, for Bader's unfortunate injury, which was originally thought of to be a hamstring injury, but then it was changed to a groin. Now, the good thing about Bader was it was said to not be anything too crazy. Now, of course, still looking at that entire situation. Hopefully it doesn't turn into anything worse, but it was just a minor type of situation there. So hopefully my biggest concern is that it turns into something worse and he just injures it any worse. I don't want to see it go down. Of course, Bader's been one of those guys where he's been able to put the ball in play in key situations. A guy for the Phillies that doesn't go up there and try to beat the heck out of the ball every single play. I mean, you look at guys that do that. Bryce Harper, Castellanos. Of course, when Castellanos came in, he was pretty much chasing the pitches that he's been chasing all year, the down the way pitches, the sliders. I mean, he falls for it every single time. You pitch him anything on the bottom left corner of the strike zone, guaranteed he'll swing at it. And no, folks, it does not need to be in the strike zone. Matter of fact, even if it was in the strike zone, he'd probably miss it. But that whole thing, I've already ranted on that enough. The whole Castellanos situation, yeah, I'm not even going to give that any more airtime. There's no reason for me to. But overall, the Phillies' offense, the bat discipline was not there, and again, just completely disappearing. How many games have we seen that from the Phils this year where the offense only shows up for, if you're lucky, maybe 2 innings? And then it just, again, went completely cold. And then here we go again. We start to leave men on base, like the stat that I mentioned earlier. 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Yeah, folks, not great. So this is something that, again, it's going to have to change. And then, of course, you want to move the pitching. Of course, the big decision that everyone was talking about in that past game and game 1 was putting Robertson in. If that's the first reliever that you're going to go to in a key situation like that, I don't know what to tell you. If that's the reliever that you're going to go to in that type of situation, I'm sorry. And you feel bad for Sanchez because, yes, he had some of his moments. Christopher Sanchez, there are some innings where he has down innings, and there were times where originally with the changeup, he was not able to get the changeup to work. But then next thing you know, I think it was at the second or so inning where he was starting to have some issues. He was starting to allow some guys on for the Dodgers. He perfected that changeup. That changeup became nasty, and that was his pitch that he got it on point. It was all for a little bit of time and in that second inning. But then afterwards, he was lights out with that changeup. They couldn't hit it. And this is something where, again, to really talk about the Phils pitching staff, they really had guys like Shohei honed in on. And this is something where, again, this was a great point that was brought up before with Shohei Ohtani. When you look at his swinging motion, it doesn't change too much. And you look at, the majority of the home runs that this guy's hit, again, Ohtani has, an enormous amount of home runs. It's insane. We've seen what Ohtani has done this year and where he hits the ball. And this is something where the Phils really honed in on in a big way. The guy's got 55 home runs this year. He didn't do that by magic. And this was, again, by Ricky, in general, this is something that was brought up by Ricky Tabacco right on NBC Sports Philadelphia, a great point that he brought up after the game on Phillies Post Game Live that I have to mention. Ricky Tabacco said, you look at Shohei's swinging motion and where he hits a lot of these pitches, especially the ones that he sends out of the park, and it's a similar looking motion every single time. And if you look at where the Phils were targeting him, you look at the areas, especially where Sanchez was targeting. They were, it's kind of insane on the ability that they were able to blow these pitches by, where they were placing them in the strike zone. So that's definitely an interesting point that was brought up, and probably why the Phils have done so well against the Dodgers this entire season. And look, in general, usually the Phils, believe it or not, actually kind of do well against the Dodgers. And no, it wasn't this season, but you look at last season as well. And yes, another guy that they've specifically honed in on was Ohtani. So their ability to where they place these pitches against guys like that and holding guys like Ohtani and Betts for the Dodgers 0 for 9 is something I will have to say. That is a positive. As many negatives that came out of last game, that is a 100% positive that I have to talk about and mention. So we'll see what happens tonight, of course. Starter, like I said, was starting, and we'll see how the Phils are able to hopefully kind of bite back against this Dodgers team. As again, it wasn't a blowout. Of course, just be happy that you're not the New York Yankees and getting railed every single game. Now the Blue Jays have taken a 2-0 lead on that entire series. So again, with all doubt, just be glad that you're not a New York Yankees fan at this point in time. But then again, if the Phils have another close loss, and it's not that much different, really. It's kind of that same exact scenario. So we'll see what happens coming out later tonight. Hopefully the Phils are able to get the job done. Game time starts at 6:08 p.m. from Citizens Bank Park in South Philadelphia. Hopefully they're able to kind of get themselves back in this series. Again, it's the last thing that we need is for a kind of a redo of what we saw from last year. That's the last thing that I want to see. And I'm sure that is the last thing that a bunch of, let's just say, the team. That's the last thing the team's going to want to see right for the year, as we had a great season, won the NL East once again. This is something where we'll just have to see how things kind of form. But right now, Blake Snell is the starter for the Dodgers. Jesus Luzardo is the starter for the Phillies. We'll see what happens. We'll see if, hey, is that the right call? Starting Luzardo, is that is that going to be the thing that wins them the game? Of course, Ranger Suarez, also the news that came out said that he was also activated to the bullpen. So this is all little maneuvers that, I mean, hey, are these the right moves? What do you guys think? Again, make sure to text into the show, WDBK text line 856-345-9325 to give your opinion and your predictions for what you think is going to happen tonight come 6:08 p.m. at Citizens Bank Park. Are the Phils done? Are they cooked? Or do they still have some life left in them? We'll be right back in a matter of moments here on 91.5 WDBK.
Join us for our 4th annual Transfer and Seasonal Job Fair on Tuesday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. This is a collaborative event hosted by Transfer Services and the Career Planning and Advancement Center here at Camden County College. It will be located on the Blackwood campus in the Connector Atrium. Students will be able to meet with 4-year representatives and employers during the fair. It's a great opportunity for students to learn about the transfer process, explore transfer options, employment leads, internships, and experiential learning opportunities all in one place.
Did you know that Camden County College has a food pantry? Camden County College has food pantries open to assist students in need of food and various supplies. For donations or assistance about the pantries, please contact Associate Dean Tenuto at jtenuto@camdencc.edu for food distribution. The marketplace is stocked with monetary and food donations by our college community. You can donate through the marketplace's Amazon wish list, through the foundation, or by stopping by as well. Please consider donating. Did you know that Camden County College has a volleyball club? Well, if not, you are in for a treat. This gives students the opportunity to build strength, improve cardiovascular health, burn calories, enhance hand-eye coordination, increase flexibility, and social interactions as well, all while having a blast. The volleyball club runs Mondays and Wednesdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. through Monday, December 1st, and is located in the Papiano Gymnasium. Membership applications and physical forms are required, and you can contact club advisor Drew Jones Edwards for more information at djonesedwards@camdencc.edu, or you can come in person to the office at Papiano Gymnasium Suite 100D. And remember, if you want to get in a workout while having a blast, well, remember, the volleyball club is here for you.
Here at Camden County College, mental health is one of our top priorities. Students face many challenges in pursuit of their academic and professional goals. If this sounds like something that you have felt or gone through before and are looking for that helping hand with support in dealing with stress, feeling overwhelmed, a personal matter, or a circumstance that may impact your academic success, well, make sure to reach out to the Center for Counseling and Wellness today. You can contact Andrea Falzone or Shirley Michelle Williams by email counseling@camdencc.edu or by phone at 856-227-7200 with either extension 4559 or extension 4556. And remember, you are not alone.
The Accessibility Center provides support services to students with disabilities attending Camden County College. At the Accessibility Center, we strive to create an environment that recognizes differences and builds independence. If you are a student with a disability attending Camden County College, you can connect with the Accessibility Center by calling 856-227-7200, extension 4430, or by emailing accessibilityservice@camdencc.edu. or stop by and visit us on the first floor of Taft Hall.
And welcome back to 91.5 WDBK for, yes, the final segment as we wrap it up here on this wonderful Monday. Well, not wonderful Monday. Both the Eagles and Phillies lost. What am I talking about? Well, hopefully they can change that tonight with the Phils getting on the board, tying up the series. Of course, we got another text in from, yes, my man, Ernie in Blackwood. He's been with us throughout the show, and he said, quote, Ohtani was shook. No excuses for that loss. Yes, sir. I mean, hey, absolutely. There was no excuses. You had their best batters. You had their best hitters honed in on. Like I said, Betts and Ohtani, Dodgers' top guys. They were 0 for 9. You had guys like that honed down. Well, yes, you had guys like that stopped. But for some reason, the Phils were having issues all around with the rest of the Dodgers lineup and with guys that don't necessarily have the best overall batting average, but yet the Phillies just could not hone in on them. And that was something that definitely cost them. Was it looked like they only prepared for the top guys of the Dodgers lineup. Of course, Ohtani was struck out 4 times. So there you go, Ernie. That goes right to what you were saying. Yes, he was locked down. Oh, 100% he was. He was 100% locked down. But still, I mean, the Phils were not able to lock down guys, of course, like Teoscar Hernandez was another one who was just, I mean, for a guy that really wasn't, I wouldn't say he was the best in the regular season. It wasn't awful, but still, this is a guy for the Dodgers that even in the past has shown up in the postseason. And this is something where, again, I mean, you even had, for the most part, Freddie Freeman was held down. Of course, he did get a hit, but still, he wasn't able to do any more damage, luckily. But in this type of situation, again, for the Phillies, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Again, Ernie, I know you're another one of those guys. We're crossing our fingers. We're hoping that the Phils don't, let's just say, continue down where we think they're going to go. But that's going to unfortunately do it for me today, of course. Glad to be with you for this 1 o'clock hour. We're going to go and finish up the show. Thanks for joining us, folks. Vincent Fost here on 91.5 WDBK. Have a great rest of your Monday, and go Phils. And yes, God bless.